In 1989, at the Ludoma mansion, a man pursued two brothers, Daniel and Alex. This man, recently wed to the boy's Aunt Helene, managed to catch up with Daniel while he concealed Alex in a closet. Urgently seeking Daniel's assistance, he revealed that someone was hunting him and had inflicted severe injuries. However, instead of helping, Daniel chose to inform the rest of his family about Charles's location. Despite Helene's attempts to intervene and save her husband, the family seized Charles and forcefully took him into a room, and he was never seen again. 3 decades later, Alex has matured into a man about to wed Grace. Like any bride-to-be, Grace is both anxious and thrilled to become part of the family, known as a gaming dominion.
He thinks I'm after your money.
We sprung this on them?
Yeah.
They're used to a 3-year courtship.
Grace, with a less privileged background, finds herself on the day of the wedding facing an arduous uphill struggle to prove that she is more than just labeled as a gold digger. During a pre-wedding photo shoot with the entire family, a startling revelation comes from Daniel's wife, Charity, who admits marrying Daniel solely for his wealth. Tony, the patriarch of the family, openly displays his disapproval of Grace, a sentiment shared by Aunt Helene. In contrast, Daniel's mother, Becky, offers Grace words of encouragement, emphasizing that only Alex's opinion truly matters as they approach the moment of their union. With the ceremony out of the way, Grace starts to relax, but then Aunt Helene shows up unannounced in Alex's bedroom to remind him that there's one more ritual before the two can live happily ever after. Alex then tells Grace of the family tradition where each new addition to the family must join the others for a game at the stroke of midnight. Grace and Alex join the family, where they encounter Emily, her husband Fitch, and their sons Georgie and Gabe. As the family assembles around the table, the maid, Clara, reads a bedtime story to the boys. During this gathering, Tony informs Grace that the tradition originated years ago when his great-grandfather, Victor, struck a deal with a mysterious benefactor known only as Mr. Labai. Per this deal, Labai granted Victor and all his future generations great wealth, but there was a catch. He handed over a very special box which every family member was to partake from to keep the deal going. Easy enough for a lot of money. Grace takes hold of the box where she's to draw a card from it, and that will be the game that the family plays. Charity participated in the family tradition when she married Daniel. Fitch played when he wed Emily, and Becky joined in when she married Tony. Therefore, it is only fitting for Alex, Daniel, and Emily's younger brother and Becky's son to have his bride partake in the tradition as well. However, unlike those before her who had less thrilling games, Grace pulls out the card for hide and seek. The room grows deathly silent. A game that hasn't been played since Aunt Helene's wedding day decades ago. This is why Alex is in a state of panic, as winning the game as a spouse is unprecedented. Moreover, if the spouse loses, it translates to becoming a ritual sacrifice. Hence, hide and seek transforms into a perilous game of run or die, adding an intense dimension to the family tradition. In order for Grace to emerge victorious, she must remain hidden until dawn, an unsettling prospect for her. Unaware of the trials awaiting her, Grace sets off to find a hiding spot. Little does she know, her day is about to take a turn for the worse. Meanwhile, the rest of the family arms themselves with various weapons, including Helene, who opts for an axe, and Fitch, attempting to handle a manly crossbow.
Ready or not, here I come.
Alex chooses to abstain from the hunt and assist his wife, a decision that doesn't sit well with Charity when she discovers his involvement. Grace hides in a dumbwaiter for as long as she cares to, missing the sight of the entire Ludoma family, arming themselves to the teeth before they begin to look for her. Grace eventually exits the dumbwaiter, only to run into Alex, who urgently commands her to remain silent. Meanwhile, Clara is patrolling the house, searching for the missing Georgie. Emily notices Clara's presence and, without hesitation, takes a shot at the maid, resulting in her instant death. In that moment, Grace comprehends the gravity of the situation, realizing that this is far more than just a game. Tony, Helene, Daniel, and Becky rush to the scene, realizing the mistake, and promptly remove Clara's lifeless body. Overwhelmed by the horrifying experience, Grace is deeply disturbed. Alex, sensing her distress, decides it's time to reveal the truth. He discloses that for the family to win the game of hide and seek, they must track down and kill Grace before dawn. Otherwise, they all face dire consequences. Alex had kept this information from Grace initially, fearing she might reconsider marrying him. Despite the slim odds of her choosing the one deadly game, Alex pledges to assist her in this perilous situation and directs her to head for the exit in the kitchen. As Grace attempts to leave the room, Tony, Helene, and Daniel notice her and attempt to intercept, but the chaotic situation takes an unexpected turn. Emily, fueled by drugs, starts firing randomly, hitting everything but Grace. In the midst of the commotion, when Grace makes a dash for escape, the family comes to the alarming realization that she is now fully aware of their sinister intentions. In the study, Grace encounters Daniel, who shows indifference towards the deadly pursuit. Surprisingly, he offers Grace a 10-second head start before betraying her to the rest of the family, reminiscent of his actions with Charles years ago. With Family Plan B in motion, they regroup to restart the hunt, and Tina provides information on Grace's whereabouts. In a drug-fueled panic, Emily shoots Tina through the head with Fitch's crossbow. Annoyed by Tina's dying groans, Helene seizes the opportunity to decapitate her, silencing her once and for all. To expedite the search, Helene suggests using the mansion's cameras to locate Grace, but Tony refuses, citing the preservation of their honourable tradition.
And we're all dead!
Undeterred, Grace discovers a rifle and loads it with nearby ammunition before entering the kitchen. When the butler, Stevens, enters as well, Grace attempts to shoot him, only to find out that the ammo is for display only. Thinking on her feet, she smashes a boiling teapot over his face, scalding him with hot water before making a swift exit from the house. As Alex takes control of the cameras and disables the locks on doors and windows from the control room, Tony and Daniel confront him. A physical altercation ensues, with Alex initially gaining the upper hand. However, Daniel's distraction allows Tony to deliver a decisive blow, leading to Alex being handcuffed in his bedroom, rendering him unable to assist his wife. As Grace searches for the exit, a second maid named Dora spots her from the dumbwaiter. In a desperate attempt to avoid detection, Grace shuts the dumbwaiter on Dora, resulting in a tragic and gruesome death. In a conversation about Alex, Helene expresses confidence that he will eventually accept the family tradition, just as she did after the death of Charlie. She recounts her own attempt to save her husband and acknowledges that, in hindsight, she should have taken matters into her own hands. Helene believes that Alex will come to a similar realization. Outside, Grace urgently makes her way to the stable, encountering Georgie along the way. Seeking help, she is shocked when Georgie shoots a hole through her hand. In response, Grace retaliates and knocks out the young boy who has now become an unexpected adversary. Next, a goat startles her, and she falls into a goat pit full of old family corpses and actual dead goats. She pulls herself out and heads to the street to hitch a ride. But no luck. The girl's a mess. Who's going to pick that up? Stevens finds Grace again, and the two fight. She strangles the guy with pieces of her ragged dress and steals his car. However, Stevens isn't dead yet, and when a vehicle assistant company shuts the car down remotely because it's been reported stolen, Stevens catches Grace and tranquilizes her. Stevens drives back to the Ladomas homestead, updating the family via video chat about Grace's situation. Unaware that Grace has regained consciousness, the family sees her awakening and attempts to warn Stevens, but their efforts come too late.
Behind you!
Grace manages to deliver two powerful kicks to his head, causing the car to crash in a field. Stevens succumbs to the impact, while Grace survives the ordeal. The unexpected turn of events leaves the Lodoma family grappling with the unforeseen outcome of their deadly game. Daniel discovers Grace safe, but torn between loyalty to his family, especially under Tony's watchful eye, he decides to knock her unconscious. He returns to the mansion with her. Meanwhile, Becky attempts to console Alex, asserting that, despite his love for Grace, he will ultimately choose the family. Alex vehemently declares that he will kill them if any harm befalls his wife. However, their intentions take a dark turn as they place Grace on an altar for sacrifice to Mr. LaBelle. Each family member drinks from a special cup of wine only to become violently ill. It turns out Daniel spiked the cup, convinced that his family deserves to die for their actions. The unexpected betrayal further intensifies the already twisted dynamics within the Lodoma family. In a desperate attempt to escape, Daniel frees Grace, but their efforts are thwarted when Charity discovers them. Tragedy strikes as Charity shoots Daniel in the throat. A struggle ensues between Grace and Charity for the gun, and although Grace manages to retrieve it, she realizes she's out of bullets. Taking advantage of the situation, Grace pistol whips Charity instead. As Grace rushes to aid the dying Daniel, Alex breaks free from his cuffs, only to arrive too late. Meanwhile, Tony attempts to kill Grace, but she retaliates by hitting him over the head with a lantern. The lantern crashes to the ground, igniting the curtains in flames. Becky takes her turn, attempting to use an arrow, but her aim falters. Resorting to a more hands-on approach, she tries to strangle Grace. In a desperate move, Grace seizes Mr. LaBelle's box and bludgeons Becky to death with it. In a shocking turn of events, Alex realizes that Grace won't want to remain married to him after everything that has transpired. Succumbing to familial loyalty, he turns on Grace and hands her over to his family.
She's in here!
The unfolding chaos paints a grim picture of the nightmarish events within the Lodoma mansion. As the ritual reaches its climax, everyone holds Grace down, preparing for the final act. Alex, aiming to stab his wife in the heart, is thwarted when Grace breaks free from Helene's grip, causing the dagger to pierce her shoulder instead. Rising with the dagger in hand, Grace screams at everyone. With the sun now up, signifying the family's loss, nothing happens as anticipated. They are all still alive. Helene, undeterred, remains intent on killing Grace. As she reaches for an axe, Helene suddenly explodes. Fitch follows suit, and Charity detonates right after.
Right.
Emily, attempting to save her boys, also explodes. Tony, frustrated that he followed the rules to no avail, meets the same explosive fate.
I'm in control!
Alex, now desperate and seeking forgiveness, pleads with Grace. However, she hands him back her ring and demands a divorce.
What a divorce.
In an explosive climax, Alex meets a fate similar to the rest of his family, leaving Grace as the sole survivor in the aftermath of the failed ritual. As the flames engulf the room, they take on the shape of Mr. LaBelle sitting at the head of the table. He gives Grace a nod of approval as she exits, covered in the blood of the exploded Lodomas family. Outside, Grace takes a seat on the garden steps, calmly puffing on a cigarette while the fire rages behind her. When a firefighter inquires about what happened, she
Ma'am, are you
nonchalantly
okay?
shrugs and replies, "In-laws."
In-laws.
Sure, your in-laws might leave the toilet seat up, offer unsolicited advice, or have peculiar holiday traditions, but let's be thankful for the small victories. At least they're not plotting an elaborate scheme to hunt you down with crossbows. So, next time you find yourself rolling your eyes at your in-laws, just remember, a little annoyance is a small price to pay for not having to dodge deadly games at family gatherings. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, so you never miss our future explorations of timeless classics and hidden gems. Until then, happy watching, and I'll catch you in the comments.